Have you ever noticed that the older you get, the less energy you have for socializing? That calls you used to enjoy now feel draining. Invitations start to feel like obligations. And slowly, without realizing it, you find peace in solitude rather than noise. Guess what? You're not broken. You're evolving. In this 5-part series, we'll uncover the surprising psychology behind why avoiding people is actually a healthy part of aging. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, give us a like, and let us know where you're watching from in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. As we grow older, our emotional resources don't expand, they shrink. This is one of the key reasons many people unconsciously start avoiding others. Think of emotional bandwidth like your phone battery. In your 20s and 30s, it feels like you're constantly on a full charge. But with each year, life throws in a few more background apps. Stress, responsibilities, loss, reflection. Slowly, your battery starts draining faster. Clinical psychologists often refer to this phenomenon as emotional conservation. It means we become more selective with where and how we spend our energy, especially emotionally. That's why unnecessary small talk or toxic relationships become harder to tolerate. I used to attend every gathering I was invited to, says Anna, 47. Now, if the room doesn't bring me peace, I just don't go. I've stopped apologizing for choosing myself. This isn't a sign of becoming cold or distant. It's a sign of prioritizing emotional safety. In younger years, there's often an unconscious need for social validation. But as age ripens self-awareness, people stop seeking approval and start protecting their peace. The science behind it. Neurologically, the aging brain becomes more sensitive to stress triggers, especially in the amygdala, our emotional response center. Social situations, particularly those involving judgment, noise, or confrontation, can feel overstimulating. Rather than powering through, older adults wisely choose to withdraw, not from fear but from wisdom. Woman in lotus position, what can you do? Accept the shift. Understand that needing more space is part of healthy aging. Curate your circle. Fewer, deeper relationships are more fulfilling. Don't feel guilty. Your emotional energy is a limited resource. Spend it where it matters most. As people age, they naturally develop sharper emotional radar. This isn't just intuition, it's the brain's ability to recognize patterns from past experiences. The more you've lived through, the quicker you are to detect subtle signs of manipulation, disrespect, or emotional immaturity. When you're young, you often give others the benefit of the doubt. You might ignore your instincts thinking you're overreacting. But with age comes a mental library of red flags, behaviors, tones, body language, that alert you instantly. And when you recognize them, your response becomes swift and clear. You pull away. In my 20s, I used to rationalize people's bad behavior, shares Daniel, 52. Now, I spot toxic traits before they can even settle in. I'd rather be alone than invest in someone who drains me. This shift is protective, not avoidant. It stems from a refined self-respect. You've been through heartbreaks, betrayals, and energy vampires. You've learned how costly emotional misjudgment can be. So, you build a boundary, one that filters out chaos before it enters. Magnifying glass tilted left psychological insight. According to the socio-emotional selectivity theory, as people perceive their remaining time as limited, a common shift with age, they prioritize emotionally meaningful experiences over novelty or expansion. That includes avoiding people who exhibit early signs of negativity. This isn't about being judgmental, it's about self-preservation. You've learned that your peace is worth protecting, even at the cost of fewer social connections. Raised hand, what you might notice. You no longer explain yourself when saying no. You trust your gut more than you used to. You value consistency and calm over charm and charisma. This emotional clarity makes your life quieter, not lonelier. Because what you're avoiding isn't people, it's patterns. One of the most beautiful, yet misunderstood, aspects of growing older is how much more connected you become to yourself. As the noise of external validation fades, the inner voice becomes louder, clearer, and more comforting. And when that inner world grows richer, the outside world doesn't always feel necessary anymore. In your younger years, social interaction is often about exploration, testing identities, seeking acceptance, chasing experiences. But with age, identity solidifies. You know who you are, what you value, and what drains you. As a result, your need for constant companionship shrinks. You're no longer trying to be seen, you already see yourself. I used to fear being alone, says Linda, 58. Now, I look forward to it. It's in silence that I hear my truest thoughts. This isn't loneliness, it's solitude. And solitude is a form of emotional wealth. You begin to enjoy slow mornings with your coffee, quiet walks without chatter, and evenings without digital noise. Social plans that once excited you now sometimes feel like interruptions to your inner peace. Brain psychological perspective. From a neuropsychological standpoint, this transition is linked to improved self-concept clarity, a measure of how well one knows and accepts oneself. Studies show that this clarity increases with age, and as it does, people feel less pressure to maintain superficial relationships. The paradox is, as you become more self-contained, your capacity for deep connection actually improves. You may interact with fewer people, but those connections are more authentic, present, and nourishing. Hot beverage practical examples of this shift. You decline invites not out of rudeness, but because you cherish stillness. You engage in conversations only when they feel meaningful. You find more joy in journaling, creating, or simply breathing than in small talk. You're not withdrawing from the world. You're simply no longer using it to define you. As the years pass, most people face a universal truth. Loss is inevitable. Friendships fade. Loved ones pass. Expectations shatter. Betrayals occur. And each of these moments leaves a quiet imprint on the heart, a reminder that not all connections are forever and not all relationships are safe. With every painful goodbye or harsh lesson, you begin to approach life with more caution. It's not that you stop loving, it's that you become more intentional about who you give your love to. You realize that some people aren't meant to stay, and some social interactions only reopen wounds that took years to heal. After I lost my brother, I changed, says Malik, 63. I used to be the life of the party. But now I crave gentleness, in myself and in others. If it doesn't bring peace, I don't want it near me. Experiences of grief and disappointment humble the soul. They strip away illusions and teach us what really matters. For many, that means stepping back from chaotic social circles, gossip-driven friendships, or energy-sapping commitments. It's not avoidance, it's a protective recentering of priorities. Brain psychological explanation. Grief rewires the brain. Specifically, it alters the default mode network, a set of brain regions active during introspection. After a significant emotional event, this network often becomes more active, leading to increased self-reflection and reduced desire for external engagement. You also become more attuned to emotional safety. That sensitivity can make certain social settings feel not just unappealing but unsafe, triggering, overwhelming, or even meaningless. The shift looks like this. You choose deep, soul-nourishing conversations over group hangouts. You become wary of people who ignore your boundaries. You decline interactions that feel performative, shallow, or exhausting. Loss doesn't just take, it clarifies. And in that clarity, many find a surprising comfort. The sanctuary of being alone without feeling lonely. Aging has a way of turning time into gold. When you're young, time feels infinite, like an overflowing well. You give it away freely, to people, to parties, to conversations you don't care about, to obligations you secretly dread. But as you grow older, something shifts. You begin to feel the weight of time. Each hour matters more. Each minute spent in the wrong place feels like theft. And so, you start choosing carefully. Who deserves your time? What brings real joy? What leaves you lighter, not heavier? I used to meet anyone anytime for anything, confesses Haruto, 60. Now I ask myself, will this matter to me tomorrow? If the answer is no, I protect my time. This is why many older adults gradually shrink their social circles. Not out of bitterness or antisocial tendencies, but out of wisdom. They're no longer interested in stretching themselves thin. Their calendar becomes sacred, filled only with people and moments that feel genuinely worthwhile. Brain from a psychological view. This shift is tied to what's known as chronological awareness, a person's understanding that time is limited. It fosters what psychologists call goal realignment. Instead of seeking variety, adventure, or popularity, older adults begin pursuing emotional depth, purpose, and fulfillment. It's why someone may cancel plans without guilt, skip celebrations without explanation, and spend weekends simply gardening, reading, or being present with a loved one. It's not laziness, it's intentional living. Mantelpiece clock. What this looks like. You stop explaining your no's. You value time with yourself as much as time with others. You no longer chase more, you protect meaning. In the end, avoiding people isn't always a sign of isolation. Often it's a sign of maturity, of knowing what fills you, and gently letting go of what doesn't. Closing story, The Quiet Room. There's an old man who lives in a small house by the lake. His name is Samuel. He's 72, silver-haired, soft-spoken, and the kind of person you'd barely notice in a crowd, until you sit with him. People used to say Samuel was the life of every room. At weddings he was the one dancing first. At funerals, the one comforting others before grieving himself. He had hundreds of friends. His phone never stopped ringing. His weekends were always full. But one day things changed. He stopped answering calls. He declined invitations. He moved away from the city. And when someone finally asked, "Why did you leave everyone behind?" he simply smiled and said, "Because I finally met someone I had ignored for decades. Myself." You see, Samuel didn't abandon the world. He just realized he had spent most of his life pleasing people who forgot him the next day. He had sat through dinners where no one asked how he was doing. He had laughed through pain just to keep the room comfortable. Now, in the quiet of his lakeside home, he finally breathes. He wakes with the sun, drinks his coffee without rush, and talks to the trees. He writes letters he never sends. He remembers the names of the birds outside his window, not the names of people who drained him. And sometimes when someone new comes to visit and asks if he's lonely, he smiles again and replies, "Lonely? No, my friend. I'm finally in good company." This is the beauty of aging. It teaches you that the loudest rooms aren't always the warmest, and the best conversations are often the ones you have with your own soul. So if you, like Samuel, find yourself retreating, don't feel guilty. Maybe you're not disappearing. Maybe you're finally arriving.